So I'm excited to introduce our first speaker on behalf of our presenting sponsor, Kraus Anderson Construction Company. And that person is our Bismarck Mayor, Mayor Mike Schmitz. Mike Schmitz is a lifelong North Dakotan who was elected mayor of Bismarck in 2022, which seems like such a long time ago. In the role of mayor, Mike serves as the president of the Bismarck City Commission, and he conducts the City Commission meetings. He's also responsible for determining the portfolios for the other city commissioners. His particular portfolio includes the city's administration department, the Bismarck Event Center, City Planning Commission, Community Development Department, Economic Development, Human Resource Department, Legal, Parking Authority, and the Vision Fund. Mayor Schmitz graduated from the University of Mary in 1984 and began his career as an accountant. In 2003, he started his own accounting firm, Schmitz Holmstrom CPA, which recently merged with Point CPA to create an organization of more than 50 employees. Mike and his wife Janelle have been married for 4 decades, and they have 2 adult sons. Would you please join me in welcoming Mayor Mike Schmitz to the stage?
Good morning, and thank you to the Chamber EDC for putting on this event, and I want to thank the Event Center for helping coordinate this so it runs smoothly. The team here is doing an awesome job. And thank all of you for attending today. During this past year, 2024, we've had a few changes in leadership. Jason Tomanek took the helm from Keith Hunke after Keith's many years of service to the city. That opened the door for Doug Wiles to move in from city forester to the assistant city administrator. So even though we did interviews and made sure we were talking to people outside of the organization, we did end up promoting 2 people within, but they went through an extensive interview process. The City Commission has tasked them with expanding the organization's internal and external leadership to increase collaboration and improve the efficiencies in service delivery. They have taken this direction to heart, and we have seen improved customer service through increased email responsiveness, efforts to streamline services when possible, and specifically increase public information to help our residents navigate and find services. I can tell you that I am seeing additional increased accountability among city staff and a more positive work culture that I observed when I took office 3 years ago. I have high hopes for what both Jason and Doug will accomplish, along with all the City of Bismarck staff in the years ahead. One example of the increased collaboration was a survey that the city conducted to ask citizens how they wanted garbage to be removed and how it should look in the City of Bismarck and how much they were willing to pay. We are thrilled. We had 3,000 respondents. I think it's the largest response that we've had to a survey in the City of Bismarck. And I'm proud to say that those results highly influenced our discussion at the table and ultimately the decisions that were made. Additionally, in July, we welcomed 2 first-time elected officials to our City Commission. Michael Conley, who had served in the role after being appointed about 15 months prior to that to fill a vacancy, and John Risch, who were voted to the commission during the primary election in June. We look forward to their knowledge and their desire to serve the community, benefiting all the citizens of Bismarck. We also welcomed a new municipal judge for the first time in 42 years. Amanda Harris was elected to that role, replacing Judge William Severin. Amanda comes to the City of Bismarck after a career that included serving as a defense attorney and a public defender. An additional, very important addition to the city staff in 2024 was the hiring of Heather May, a community integration facilitator. This is a federally funded position housed in the Public Health Department, and it serves to connect new Americans with a variety of services in our community. As Bismarck welcomes new residents who may not speak English as their first language, we need to be responsive to their unique needs. Heather will lead the effort to bridge that need and ensure that Bismarck is not just a destination, but a way for families to establish a new hometown. And finally, to help with the improvement of transparency and communication, we, several weeks ago, hired a second person in our communications department. This will improve our transparency and increase messaging to residents. The search began last fall, and we're excited to announce that Maya Fleck, a former KFYR reporter, accepted the position. Our 2025 general fund budget was approved at just under $70 million. While doing that, or approving that budget, we did have the opportunity to reduce the amount of tax assessed to the city's residents by about $500,000. This is as a result of our cooperation and work with Burleigh County to help equalize the cost of public health across all county residents and removing the burden that the Bismarck residents were absorbing for the county residents who resided outside of Bismarck. We also approved a 5% reduction in our base water rates, thanks to the hard work of our delegation at the state capitol, who advocated and helped achieve a $50 million state funding for our water treatment facility. In our budgeting process, public safety and service was important, and we were able to provide some things to help improve that. The police drone program, which will assist with emergencies and provide improved software to allow businesses to easily upload, or citizens, their own video evidence. The upgrade also moves all reports, records, training onto a digital platform that will allow the police department to more efficiently analyze the data that goes into protecting the city. The airport, we have a runway rehabilitation project that has begun, which will increase the capacity and ensure safety on our runways. At the landfill, we have had a couple of things. We purchased a compactor that is going to help us extend the life of the current cell, or the place where our trash is being composited and deposited. And further, we also were able to acquire some land right by, so we'll be able to keep the landfill in its location for decades. This is huge. The Hay Creek Lift Station is nearing completion, and that will improve our wastewater infrastructure in Northeast Bismarck. We continue to replace the high-pressure sodium lights on our streets with LED lights. That helps reduce our energy costs, and it will provide a longer lifespan. It also improves brightness on the streets, which impacts public safety. Washington Street, major project this year, rehabilitating south of the drainage ditch into a 3-lane road, increased lighting and traffic controls to increase safety as we transfer people from north to south for both pedestrians and motorists. As we move into 2025, there are some key projects. One is the South Bismarck Flood Project Protection Project. We also will be continuing to expand the water treatment plant, and we will reconstruct East Century Avenue. Further, we will continue to assess when is the right time to build a new police station and fire station to keep our safety standards high. During 2025, we also saw the return of the Renaissance Zone as an economic development tool that helps to reinvigorate our city's core. The Bismarck Renaissance Zone had expired in 2022, but thanks to our state legislature, they recognized the value of reinvesting in a community's existing core and changed the laws to allow the program to be brought back. Me, as a CPA, and having been one for 40 years, I can tell you that intelligent fiduciary strategy is important to me. And the legislature is moving forward probably with a plan to address property taxes. We'll continue to educate them as to what our needs are as a city, and after the bill is passed, make decisions that are very positive for our residents with the resources that we'll be entrusted with from you and also the state. Our level of service needs to stay high as we expect as citizens. Part of what makes Bismarck such a strong city is our growth is sustainable. We expect to welcome about 1,000 new residents each year because of the opportunities we have in our community for people. We will manage our budget to anticipate the growth that will need to be funded. At the last State of the Cities, I shared with you about a welcome initiative. I'm very excited about that. It aims to take the next step in helping people in our community to be the best resources, each other. This effort became important to myself and my wife, Janelle, over the last several years, when as we met people who were new to the community, they shared their struggle, that they had a hard time fitting into the community. While we happen to be a friendly community, we're not often a welcoming community. The difference between friendly and welcoming is a friendly community says hello on the street and kind of forgets about the new person. A welcome community would be someone, we introduce ourselves to them, we probably even offer to take them to coffee, help maybe their kids have a play date with our kids, or, wow, gosh, reach out and offer to have dinner with them at our own home. I have a real life example of how this actually worked. Amber Galloway, serving as a barista at a local coffee shop, interacted with all the customers that were coming into that coffee shop. Ultimately, she became friends with them and invited this group of people over to her house and had dinner. That group of people had so much fun, they didn't stop talking until late into the night, and they decided they needed to continue gathering as a group. Since then, Amber has left to go to the mission field in South Africa, and they're continuing to meet with her via Zoom. So that's really what I mean by welcoming. As a business owner, I ask you to consider how you can better welcome a new employee into our community and into your business. John Simmers of Bismarck Aero has an example. When he brings a new employee in from out of town, he gathers a crew of his team members to help them move in. Then he'll connect the trailing spouse and family to social events within the community and even help identify some potential career opportunities for that trailing spouse. He also plans a monthly outing with that new person and some of his team members to help them integrate into the community. So the Welcome Initiative has taken off and has got legs thanks to the partnership with the Bismarck Mandan Chamber, EDC, and the City of Mandan, along with a group of interested citizens. This May will be the first Welcome Month in our communities. We've asked the Chamber EDC to expand the website, makeyourmarkbisman.com, to include an increased presence for opportunities to become involved with these individuals. If you are part of an organization that would like to register to be involved with your group or organization on the site, you can do that at the Chamber site. The Chamber has also got a slide, and I think it's presented as well, the QR code that will take you right to the site to register. We do have a group of individual residents who will be willing to come to your business or your organization to give a presentation on this. I strongly encourage each of you business leaders to consider how you figure into the picture. We need employees to come and stay in Bismarck. Did you realize that 2/3 of the students at the University of Mary are from out of state? And all the people who work at our healthcare facilities as temporary workers? We need these people to want to stay here. Those are examples of people we need to work with and have them call Bismarck Mandan home. For any information on this, you can contact Summer Stern at the Chamber EDC. Her email address is sturm@bmecedc.com. Each November, the City of Bismarck accepts applications to our Citizen Academy, which is an opportunity for citizens to learn about the City of Bismarck's municipal operations. I would offer that this program holds significant value to any individual here in the room today. As I close, I would like to say some thank yous. Particularly, I would like to thank Mary Van Sickle, who is preparing to retire this coming year. She has built Dakota Media Access into a tremendous community partner that provides coverage of all of our public meetings and also several other programs through radio, television, and on-demand platform. Mary, I hope as you step away from Dakota Media Access, you feel a tremendous sense of accomplishment. What a resource. Thank you. The City of Bismarck continues to look forward to working with your successor on the projects such as Bismarck Insights, These Are Your Neighbors, and of course, all the valuable meeting coverage that creates transparency. I'd also like to thank my wife, Janelle. Thank you for supporting me on this call to serve the citizens of Bismarck, for being my sounding board and leading the Welcome Initiative on my behalf. It would not be possible without your help. Janelle and I would also like to remind everyone, this Thursday, there's a chamber mixer at the Bank of North Dakota. She happens to work there, so I'm going to do a plug for her, a little selfish. Please come. It's an opportunity to meet the legislators who are in town who will be there. Thank you for all who have attended today and for all that you do for our communities. If you have any questions for the City of Bismarck, we welcome your contacting us via email, phone call, or some other method which will help make a stronger community for us. I look forward to what we can accomplish together in 2025. Thank you and have a great day.
I'm going to start out with Mayor Schmitz, because we are sitting here in the event center, and there's a lot of conversation about the event center for a lot of different reasons. And so, Mayor Schmitz, would you tell us what's going on with the event center? Do tell.
Do tell. Well, we're in the midst of our consulting firm evaluating the operations here at the event center, looking at what we can do to enhance it, not when I say enhance it, enhance what's coming in to help the community with it being a resource. Knowing that the event center certainly is available to host maybe concerts or other things, but what is it that we should really be bringing in here to support the community as a whole, our businesses in downtown Bismarck or downtown Mandan, the restaurants and the hotels. That we'll have a report from them sometime in April. They're looking at how it should be managed, if it should be managed differently, in some form or capacity. We also have an RFP that's out with report, or it's due in February, that we'll be looking at if there's a way to enhance some facilities around here, specifically a lot right adjacent to the building or something else that might be able to be constructed by a private partnership.
Sure.
To help enhance the facility itself and help attract events to the cities.
Sure. I don't think it's any secret. Is there someone in the room who thinks we don't need a hotel and conference center in downtown area? I didn't think so. So I joke a lot of times that I can't retire until I see something constructed. So I hope to goodness sakes that I'm not here until I'm 100 years old.
Well, we'll see.
But I'm committed. I'm committed to staying until it happens.
We'll see what the RFPs bring.
And we appreciate that. I'm going to stick with you, Mayor Schmitz, and just ask you another question that's been kind of burning on people's minds, and it's not about the event center. But how is the City of Bismarck and Burleigh County collaborating during your tenure as mayor?
Well, I think, we certainly have had some enhanced collaboration when it comes to public health, which I mentioned during my speech, and that was probably one of the big things. We were able to start shifting some of the burden. Public health is a county obligation, and the City of Bismarck was paying 75% of it. So to try to shift that burden, that's happened. I don't know that we have some good collaboration, but there's always going to be some difficulties. We have a little bit different desired or need. The county is really focused on what needs to happen externally outside of the City of Bismarck. Never mind, City of Bismarck is part of the county, and that's fine. That's their job. They need to do that. Could be better, I think, but we're continuing to work on it.
Thank you for continuing to work on that. I think that's incredibly important, as does our membership. And by the way, these questions are not made up by me. I sent a mass text message and email out to all of my friends in Bismarck and Mandan, which is a lot of people, and they submitted these questions. So I won't get to all of them. So if you're waiting for your question to come up, they've seen them all, so they know that they're burning questions, but we're going to try to get to as many as we can. Mayor Froelich.
Yes.
You shared a lot of amazing information, and kudos to the City of Mandan for energizing your downtown area. It looks phenomenal, and we appreciate being able to spend time in your fine city with all of the events going on there. But you've been mayor of the City of Mandan for a short amount of time. It might feel like a long time, but you got a few meetings under your belt, and you kind of got the lay of the land, so to say. What are your high-level goals for the City of Mandan during your tenure?
Well, certainly completing the Memorial Highway. I think that's going to be our quote-unquote new Main Street, right? It's going to that's going to be our commercial corridor, and I'm pretty adamant about getting another fire station built in northwest Mandan. When you look at the geography of Mandan, I've always described it as the tail of a dragon. There's no grid per se, central grid like a conventional city. We've got all this disruption and routes, so we need to get that built. And as I said, we're going to probably have 4,000 people up there in 5 to 7 years. So
There's a lot of great things going on there in North Mandan, and you need
Yes.
the infrastructure to help support it.
yes,
Okay, great, thank you. So I'm going to go to the state now. This is the state of the cities, but there's some things going on just a few blocks to the north of us here that we're all anxiously wondering what's happening today. There's no shortage of bills that have been submitted about the lovely property tax. So let's talk about property tax, right? We were successful in defeating, as a community and as citizens, measure number 4, but now the hard work happens, right? And so can each of you talk a little bit about what you know about the property tax bills that are going on, and what you'd like to see come? If you were king for the day instead of mayor, what would you like to see? Mayor Schmitz, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
I know you've got some feelings about that.
I have personal feelings, certainly. There are probably 2 primary bills right now. There's several others, but there are 2 that I think that have the legs. The one is really supporting the governor's plan, and that's a 3% cap on the property tax portion of our budget, the collection piece. And there's another bill that's got a 3% cap on property tax values. I think that one doesn't actually get to what they're trying to accomplish. It's probably more flexibility for the cities because it allows the cities to raise rates and actually have more than 3% growth. I am a realist. A cap of some kind is appropriate. I think we've had situations within the state where we've had maybe some runaway taxes, and we need to be good fiduciaries of the dollars that are granted to us. What I don't think that is fully understood is property taxes are only, like in the city of Bismarck, about 40% of our general fund budget. And so if we restrict property taxes, and we know we're growing at a 4 or 5% for inflation, we're going to have a delta that we need to make up. And so we'll just have to figure that out. It would be lovely if they looked at how they structured the cap a little differently, I think, with some form on inflation. But from what I know, I think we're looking at probably a 3% cap, and we'll figure out how to live with that.
Sure. Mayor Froelich, you have
Yeah,
any comments?
I agree with Mike. Next question.
Okay. Fantastic.
No, he brought up some good points. When we look at what the property tax pays for, it's police and fire. That's it. That's where the money runs out. And we had a budget meeting last week, and everybody was going around the table, and what do we have plugged in? We have 10% for healthcare. We have 6% for this. And I turned to Mr. Neubauer and I said, I'm not hearing any 3% anywhere. So that's a concern. Where do we find that money as these costs continue to grow?
Yeah, and I think some of it comes too with looking at ways at how we do things. I think every business has to do that, but there's only so many ways you can
I would
put a fire truck to a test. And
that's exactly right, and I get that, and Mike would probably agree. There's not a lot of fat in our cities. So I don't know if there's this perception out there that we're rolling in it, or
well, and I'd put a plug in for the Citizens Academy in Bismarck. That is a great opportunity for our citizens to actually see what goes on behind the scenes. And anyone I've talked to who's gone through the Citizens Academy comes out with a bit of a different lens. But that's only a few people that go through that program. So we've just got to keep educating people on what it takes to run a good community. How can we're the Chamber EDC, we're made up of over 1,200 members, from small businesses to large businesses. How can we in our membership help each of you in your respective cities be more successful?
well, we could go back and say, what do you want to get accomplished? And one of the big things, and this is going to take a lot of heavy lifting on your guys' part, is both Bismarck and Mandan need industrial parks. and where do we find that land, and how do we get them built? I think it's really confining our business, the broader business opportunities, by not having a large industrial park.
Sure. And that is on our list of high priority goals for
That's
this year.
Nathan's
So we will be
list, yeah.
getting in a vehicle and driving around, and anyone have any ideas out there, we'd love to visit with you. Mayor Schmitz?
So I agree with Mayor Froelich on the industrial park. That certainly is a big need. It's probably been a need for longer than most of us want to remember. I think, making sure we have engagement. Frankly, engagement within the community, engagement with the chamber, engagement with our city governments. We as elected officials and team members at our cities really do want to hear from people. And not all bad. I mean, we know there's not all bad, but certainly if there's a stress point, I think we can't address it if we don't know about it. And I'm certainly open to that. I think we also, as a community, need to be prepared to welcome our new residents. And truly, I mean, we are on a committee together with welcoming people into town, into our towns. And it's not just Bismarck and Mandan, frankly, it's the whole entire community. Lincoln is included. But how do we make sure that people want to come here and stay here?
Sure.
Because that's how we're going to continue to support business.
Okay, great, thank you. So Mayor Schmitz, I'm going to talk a little bit about the geographical footprint of Bismarck. We are sprawling out in all different directions. We know we can only go so far. We can't go into the river, but we're going north, we're going to the east, and we're kind of going south. What are we doing about that geographical sprawl?
Well, we have just adopted about a little over a year ago, the Together 2045 plan. That's really what's supposed to drive our footprint for the city of Bismarck, and I know the developers are engaged in that and certainly want to be a part of that. We need to continue to work on infill, and that's part of where affordable housing might come from, is how we can do some infill within the areas of our community, of Bismarck, to create maybe some affordable housing on some of those lots that need to be redeveloped. We certainly aren't pushing that we develop further. It's the demand that comes. We're bringing 1,000 people into the city, and that's not kind of what's coming into probably in Mandan. Well, 1,000 people a year, you got to have housing for it. And it doesn't mean we just can have, unlimited growth, but we also have to be respectful that there's going to be growth.
Right. Mayor Froelich, anything to add on that?
Well, I think Mayor
You have
Schmitz-
sprawl, you're
Yeah, we have
stretching out.
sprawl, yeah. And when you look at Mandan's population over the last 15 to 20 years, we've grown over 60%. But I think the opportunity, as Mayor Schmitz said, is the infill, and again, to the lower cost affordable housing, and our older parts of town, renovating the infrastructure there, so those areas continue to be attractive to first-time home buyers and low-income people. I think that's an easy one that we have to look at, because if you take Mandan proper, and let's just say we spend the $34 million, but if you were to take those homes in there and say, well, we're going to rebuild them, and at the cost of what, $300,000 now, you're over $100 million. So I think spending $34 million to get over $100 million in housing is a pretty decent way to go.
Sure.
And just even recently, in our last commission meeting, we approved a zoning change that was going to allow a multifamily type structure right in the core of Bismarck, replacing some older structures. And that's really what we need to do. But again, that's not going to handle 1,000 new or 1,500 new people coming into our communities every year. We're not going to be able to do that. So sprawl is going to happen. It just needs to be responsible.
Correct, and I couldn't agree with you more. So Senate Bill 2225 is an interesting one that we've been tracking at the Chamber EDC, and it is part of the appropriations that Governor Armstrong is working with Commerce to open up some funding to do some affordable housing. And so we're looking forward to, once that's passed, hopefully working with the communities of Mandan and Bismarck and tapping into those funds. For those of you that don't know what Senate Bill 2225 is all about, it's really an opportunity for communities across the state to tap into some private-public partnerships using some grant funding where it's a third, a third, a third. The developer has a third of the responsibility for developing some affordable houses. The city as well as through granting. And so there's some really, I think, good opportunities there that we could potentially tap into, as well as out in Lincoln. So I'm excited to see that. This is a heavier topic, and we probably could talk about this for a long time, and we're not going to solve it on this stage. But can you each talk about what steps you're taking to perhaps develop some sort of solution to homelessness, addiction, and mental health in our community? We know that we see it. We know that communities, you know, it's happening out there, and we are not immune to it in Bismarck and Mandan. Do either one of you have any thoughts that you'd like to share on that?
Well,
I do.
go ahead.
All right, Mayor Froelich.
Well, and this goes to the whole thing, and I heard this morning, the guy was giving statistics over the last 10 years, and he called it despair. And he said more people have died of drug addiction and suicide in the last 10 years than all that died in COVID. And yes, we need to address this. Now, what can the city do? You know, we have the county health programs. The police interact with these people and steer them in the right direction where they need to go. You know, how do we end it? I think it's foundational. I don't know if government can do that, and you got to get back to the basics, which is neighbor to neighbor. It's probably a nonprofit interaction. I think if you let the government do it all, and that's why I was a little hesitant to answer this from a government point of view, then it just becomes out of sight, out of mind, right? Mm-hmm. And then, and that's not good, because then these people fall through the cracks. So I think the soup kitchen and everything, Ministry on the Margins does a wonderful job, and I would continue to support those efforts. But it's been with us a long time, and I don't really have a good answer as to how to solve it.
Mayor Schmitz?
Well, I think actually government's going to have to be involved to some degree, and actually the City Commission in Bismarck has actually charged our Director of Public Health to work on this. So Renee is working on developing, well, we already did a community health needs assessment, but we've asked Renee to also work with the local not-for-profits and other service providers to come up with a way to solve some of it. We know it's not going to all go away. Mental health is a major part of the homeless issue, but also we're looking, can we find a community triage center which may help with some of the mental health illnesses, especially related to drug and alcohol, and how do we get that put up and run? It's going to take a private-public partnership. Will we solve it? Not entirely. Homelessness is going to exist to some degree, but if we can start finding a way to get services to some of those people and find shelter, that's really the key. And our Renee is challenged with that, and I know she's going to be successful. It's not going to happen overnight.
I agree. It's not a problem that's going to be solved overnight, but I think the fact that both communities have their eye on it and are working arm in arm with some of those nonprofits to make some impact. I'm seeing the time flashing at us a little bit, but there is, I want to make sure that I get a couple more questions in. So Tate, I'm sorry, I am going to go over just a little bit. I guess I can, right? So there's going to be a small structure, and I say that sarcastically, but over on the western part of the state, the Presidential Library is being built. And we know with pretty good certainty that a lot of people coming to see the Presidential Library will probably fly into the Bismarck Airport. We hope that they stay for a little while here in Bismarck and Mandan and check out things, perhaps rent a car and drive over to the Presidential Library. They expect to draw 300,000 visitors. Do you have any plans or initiatives that might complement some of that effort?
Yeah, we're putting a big arrow on that sign we're putting up on the hill.
Yeah? And say, stay here?
Yeah, vacancy. I think the continued growth of our events downtown through the MPO. And so if somebody's coming through the area and they, what's happening, we have something every month, and every weeknight, or one weeknight, we have the band shell going, and I think that's going to be important to attract those visitors. You failed to mention the possibility of the resurrection of the Hiawatha line.
Oh, well, that's not on my list, but if you want to talk about the resurrection of the Hiawatha line, we don't have that much time.
No, but, you might start getting
Yeah.
people via train out of Chicago and Minneapolis, and stopping in one of our communities is going to be the stop. If this comes to
I know it's a dream of yours. And that's okay. I think it's worth a conversation. We'll keep an eye on
But
that
the
one.
one stop is Medora. They've already stressed that they are going to Medora, and they are going to stop there.
So,
Mayor Schmitz?
I don't know that we have initiatives within the city as the city commission to say, let's do this, but I think it's important that we as a communities, open our doors and make sure we have opportunities for these people to stop and stay here, especially if they're flying in to the airport. We got to make sure our facilities are ready for them.
Yep.
And just to encourage our local restaurants and entertainment facilities and hotels to be ready for these people when they come. That's why I am also excited about, hopefully we can get some, that might help us get some legs to a potential new hotel structure.
Yeah, we're rooting for that, because you don't want me working here till I'm 100 years old. All right. My last question is the same for both of you, because I think as both of you have stepped up, the call to serve in an elected office, it's not easy. We know you get hate mail. We know you don't oftentimes get emails and Facebook posts that say, "We love you, Mayor. We love everything you're doing." And that's unfortunate. But it's about leadership. And at some point in time, you made a decision to step up and decided to put your hat in the ring and say, "I want to lead my great city." So for each of you, and I'll start with Mayor Froelich, what legacy do you hope to leave?
Well, over the last 20 years, the previous mayors have just built forward, right? And that stems back to the diesel fuel cleanup and also Main Street cleanup. And Mr. Neubauer has been an integral part of that. So how do you want to leave it? Better, but on the shoulders of all the people that have come before you to build. I would hope some of these infrastructure projects can be done. And if they do, there's opportunities there, lots of opportunities for the citizens of Mandan to thrive.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Froelich. Mayor Schmitz?
Well, first off, I don't think a legacy as a mayor is really why I signed up for this. It was more to serve, and I think leaving the city in as good or better position as it was before I was elected is certainly number one goal. To see, probably more importantly, is to just make sure we have a great team at our city departments that are working together to serve the citizens, and that we are responsive. So if anything can happen, and it's small steps that are occurring, but that we are a little bit more streamlined, a little more accessible, I will feel good if that's happened when I step away.
Great. Thank you. Please give a round of applause to our mayors for spending some time with us.